名のあるキャラで、
はい、
戦争でネジがいなくなったって、はい、どうしてなんですか？
まあなんかヒロインを、はい、日向に決めてたんで、もう結構前から、そしたらナルトと
最終的に
そうです、そうするとナルトと日向が近づく要素が欲しかったわけです。ペン戦で日向がバーって出てきて言ったシーンもありますけど、今度はナルトが意識的にその、なんか日向に横にいてくれて、嬉しいっていうことを言うっていう、だからその辺があったので、どうしてもネジはそのまあ言ったら、
まあそのトリガーとしてというかね、
そうですね、キューピッド役みたいな役になってっていうことで、ちょっとお亡くなりにでそれでその時に名前を、息子の名前をボルトって大体決めたんですよ。
あ、そうなんですか？
そうです。決めてて、ナルト、
ボルト
です。でボルトは別名ネジだから、おじさんの名前を、キューピッドの助けてくれたおじさんの名前を継ぐっていう意味でボルトっていう人があったんで、
今一人やったら俺ちょっと涙出てました。
ネジにしたんです。
そういうことだったんですか？
はい。だからこれから、例えば、まあちょっと勇め足かもしれないですけど、まあボルトの話をちょっと漫画で書く場合があったとして、そしたらそのネジのシーンが重要になってくるっていう。
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sparda's World, where I review anime and manga. This is Sparda 3G speaking. So, as you hear the beginning of the video, or audio in this case, that was from the interview of Kishimoto, Masashi Kishimoto, the mangaka of Naruto. And this one was released, I believe, the end of the year or the beginning of this year. So this is not really new, but it's more like it has the video and the full translation, well, almost completely translated interview has been surfaced in the web. And you know, I took my time to actually read upon this interview, and you know, this is actually an interesting one. And when I say interesting, it does not really mean a good thing or a bad thing. It's just interesting because this is something you will learn from a guy who has been working this for 15 years, or you know, the way how they say it is 15 years. Sometimes it's actually less than 15 years, but who knows, or maybe even over. But the point is, this is something that a lot of people should actually take the time and read upon this and actually get the better understanding of where this guy coming from. And needless to say, I guess this tells me why this whole story has been, you know, such a mess, especially towards the end, because the story is really, all this part of the story is made on the spot. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with well, okay, I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong, but it's not a completely bad thing if writers were working on their work. That's a lot of time they are just made on the spot, because you have one with Kubo, Titai Kubo, the mangaka of Bleach. You know, he has said that he has been thinking the storyboard off the, you know, on the spot whenever the time comes. So, you know, when you read Bleach, you always know that there's some parts it's like, oh, okay, this is obviously made on the spot, because if this was planned, this would have been foreshadowed or something, you know, give you the idea like, okay, I'm convinced it's part of the plan, stuff like that. He acknowledged that he doesn't really plan this much. He only just does it on the spot. Needless to say, it does show you that they don't really line up to the other part of the story, but at the same time, it doesn't really harm it. It's just only like, you know, trying to reinforce the already established concept. Like, for example, you got one guy who's like, you know, always coughing blood or sick, and then on the spot, I guess they made it into the point that it's the king's right arm man, you know, who's been doing this whole sickness all this time. Oh, because he was dying early on. So you know, he incorporated into that moment. You know, it's kind of a little bit fishy, or it is fishy, but the point is, at least they reinforce it, and it doesn't really harm the story. It just makes it a little bit out of nowhere, but it's not too bad. But in Naruto case, there are a lot of moments that actually harm the story, mainly the theme of the story, and a lot of people were very upset even by the time the ending happened. By the time where we were in the middle of the war arc, a lot of people are already starting to give up, and they started to noticing the flaws from the past chapter. And a lot of people who have still been following the series along, they actually go back to the very first chapter and then reread it, and started to realize it isn't as great as they know. I mean, everyone has their own opinion. To me, I still find it still good when you read it from beginning and then get to the part that it starts to go down, down, down. I mean, I still see it that way at the very least. I always said that it was starting to go downhill by the time where we get to the Kage Summon arc. I mean, yes, granted, you could say it started to go downhill in the beginning of part 2, because it is like very one-sided focus. Like, you get the first arc, you get more focus on Team Kakashi, mainly on Sakura, because, you know, this is her first debut as a fighter. Then you got the next arc, which is more of Sai and Sasuke, with Naruto included. Then you got Shikamaru. I mean, you got Team 10, but it was more Shikamaru, let's face it. And then you have Sasuke with Team Taka, but of course, mainly Sasuke. And then Naruto, which took a long time to get the protagonist on the spotlight, right? So, you know, I see a lot of people have a problem with that kind of concept, and I can understand why people start to say it started to fall off a cliff around beginning of part 2, rather than the middle of part 2, or when it hits the Kage Summit. Or, you know, a lot of people started to give up around the time where Pain, or Nagato, did the revival. You know, he did the full effect revive, the mass resurrection to the entire Konoha, which is really baffling, because, you know, the whole point of this whole evasion was like getting so many people killed, you know, the realistic aspect. But somehow he reversed that, and a lot of people were so upset with that moment. I was upset, but, you know, the very ending, you know, chapter 450, the part where Naruto go back home and everybody's like cheer for him, like a complete opposite from chapter 1 and before that. So I thought that was good, and, you know, I wouldn't say it completely redeemed that mass resurrection, but it helped, you know. That being said, you know, there's news to report, but it's not too important. So next time I'll report some news that should be aware about. I would say Japan seems to really hype about Gitami. I told you, I'm not good at names, so please forgive me for pronouncing them wrong. But that being said, it seems like that's the main hype of the anime. And surprisingly, I believe Digimon Adventures Try, it was around 14 or 15th place. You would assume it would have been much higher. It is a nostalgic factor. And the funny thing is, the U.S. audience, they were tested the same thing, only Digimon was around top 5. So I guess we're stuck in the nostalgia factor while Japan is moving forward. I'm not sure. You can't really say, because you only survey a very few amount of people, you know. If you survey in the entire country, that's impressive and crazy. You know, you won't never get the idea of what the fan truly wants. But with that said, with this result, we have Gitami being the #1 series that they're so hype about, which is said to believe next month it will be released on April. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that, definitely. And I just like the series a lot. I just can't wait. So, with that said, I want to talk about the interview. Now, this interview is interesting. This interview was released a while ago. This is not brand new. This was released a while ago, and a lot of people only got the snippet. The main one that people got so upset is the one I put in my audio recording in the very beginning of this episode, and that is the Neji. Neji died. What was the reason why he has to die? And it is known fact that he died just to be the Cupid for Naruto and Hinata. that outraged a lot of people. I see a small campaign of having a T-shirt that says something about Neji, pretty much like never forget or stuff like that, because you know he got treated bad, and you know it's true. This is the reason why his death was so lackluster. I mean, it came out of nowhere. Fine, I get it. It's the war. But the way how it's handled, it was just so lacking. It lacks impact. It lacks emotional depth. You only got it for like a later on with the other guys. You even got the usual some cheesy, you know, the moral lesson. You know, Neji died, but he lives in our heart. It just it doesn't line up with the past arcs. I'm not saying Naruto was always deep, but it doesn't line up well. It just come off very simple-minded, simple thought, and just not creative. It's just so bland, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know. That's how I always felt. And needless to say, now I understand. Now I know why it felt that way. Because his mission was just to have himself get killed, so Naruto and Hinata could get a moment that they could share together, and that is, you know, losing a friend, brother, cousin, whatever. The point is they're connected because of that. So that's the reason why he died ultimately. Even though, you know, in the series itself, you see like the effects from the characters like Lee, Hinata, sort of, Naruto, sort of, I guess. You know, you get those kind of effects, but you know, when you look at after that moment, it never translated into something more. It only be like, okay, well, you knocked Obito and Madara out of the control of Jubi. After that, the battle's still going on, like nothing ever changed. Like even the whole Phoenix thing, no, it didn't do anything great. It just did like, oh, it was a cool effect. I guess we could put that in the story mode for the video games. It would look cooler. You know, it's like it's trying to top Dragon Ball Z. Well, not top, but it's trying to be Dragon Ball Z reminisce. And it's just funny to see why everything starts to change, because this interview actually not explained it, but it indirectly said why a lot of things seems to go differently. So the interview pretty much established that not only that Neji died for Naruto and Hinata to get together, he also mentioned that the reason why Bolt was called Bolt and being made is because, well, you know, it has that he ties them together. Now, a lot of people would say like, wow, so you're pretty much saying if Bolt didn't exist, Naruto and Hinata won't exist, you know, as a relationship. Like it will probably just, like, I don't know, divorce, something, whatever. But the point is, the way how it's being said is kind of striking, because it's pretty much you get the idea Bolt was like I can't say out of nowhere. Well, yeah, actually it is out of nowhere, because you gotta remember, if you follow this guy for quite a few times, especially if you read his old interview indicates that he already have like a son's name. That son's name never happened. I believe it's Shina Chico. And now that's a fandom war going on in there. The point is, he said this, and that never came out. Now we have Neji. Because of Neji dies, we have Bolt. So to pay the homage to the Neji, which is baffling, because why this has to be the case? Why did both children's name? Why the children's name are based on Hyuga, based on Neji, base? Naruto has no say to this. It literally shows you that it's all for the sake of this pairing, which is mind blowing, to be honest with you, because just why are you doing this way? Why not just do it natural? Why not just do it genuine? He even established the idea of the whole her sacrifice and stand up against pain, even though she got one shot. You know, he created that scene, but apparently he wanted to make it more scenes. He wanted to make it an opening for Naruto to consciously realize that she is by his side, and he want to thank her for that. So he has to use Neji's death to do this. It's bad. It's the worst part is The worst part is, look, I don't care about the pairing anymore, okay? This is not even about pairing anymore. This is about storytelling. And the storytelling itself is bad because you're doing this. There's so many different ways to have Hinata and Naruto to get together. You don't need to have Neji die. Why not just have Hinata's father die? Huh? Would have been a good idea. It would have been a better idea. It would have been a more impact. Yes, I know Naruto has nothing to do with Hinata's dad. But in the same sense, you could just have Hinata's dad tell Naruto, you know, hey, I remember you yelling that you want to change the Hyuga in the Chunin exam. Try to do that. Why ever have it to that part of the story? That never came back about ever again. And it's weird because after that scene from 615, nothing screams, you know, Naruto and Hinata would get together because it's not only your what's the word I'm looking for? Outshining Naruto and Hinata with any other ones, like with Sasuke. I mean, I know there's no homosexual love interest in the story. I mean, like I said, I don't mind it at all. But you know, from what I heard, there's a rule that you can't do that in Shonen Jump. But don't quote me that. But anyway, not only you have that, or even with Sakura, you know, not only that. You don't develop any further with Naruto and Hinata. Look, the story doesn't need to be a complete love story. Nobody has to be a complete love story to make it say, okay, this development makes sense. No, you don't need to do that. All you have to do is just develop slowly but surely. And you have to develop like a reasonable amount of explanations of why this relationship can occur. Like. If you read other series, you're always going to see those two together. Well, not together as lovers, but together as a good friend, best friend. I really don't understand if Naruto and Hinata were best friends because it never said. It was never shown. It was never foretold. It was just friends. When you look back, part 1, the moment is Chunin exam, then that was it. Then part 2. You got the pain, her standing up against pain. And apparently Kishimoto dismissed this as a eye-opener. Why? I have no idea. And then we wait all the way to the war to establish their openness. Which is funny because the last of Naruto, the movie, did not use this scene at all. So, what's going on? Which is the real scene? Which is the right scene? Which is the scene that tells us, oh, these two could love each other? Or, you know, be in a couple in a relationship. None of that have established. That's what makes the movie very hard to, you know, comprehend the whole entire story with the manga series, you know. So I just don't get this. After 615, I'm only told that Naruto and Hinata are like enlightenment, are like, you know, a good companion that could relate in terms of hard work. And then she never established this love thing. I mean, she always say his name. I guess saying your name is perfect enough. And then she got the 699 being treated as a heroine, which, by the way, this interview also said that Hinata was being placed in a heroine stage once he has Neji getting killed off, because, you know, he wants Hinata and Naruto to relate to something. So death is one thing to relate, I guess. I mean, Naruto and Sakura could relate to the whole Team 7, Sasuke, themselves. It was sure looked that way back in the beginning of part 2, so why not? But, you know, again, this is not about pairing. This is about making the right story decision. And in this case, I wouldn't mind if he was more open about this whole development with Naruto and Hinata, because it's like why bother keeping Naruto loving Sakura, especially when the reason behind it in the movie is just downright terrible and downright inexcusable, because it's like it's not even, it doesn't even match up well. And if it does try to match up well, then that means Naruto is pretty much a scumbag, as Japan has been calling him lately. And I just don't get it. Why? How could you not just have him move on because she went with Sasuke, and just have Naruto and Hinata develop together? Is it because you're afraid of the fact that this is part of giving up? Well, guess what? You should never done this kind of story in the first place. Or a matter of fact, you should never have. You know what would have been the best time for Naruto to move on? Back in the hospital, where he has to make the promise, and pretty much he already get the idea that Sakura loves Sasuke. That would have been the best time. What was the whole point of keeping him loving Sakura? I guess it had a story, it had a purpose before, and then this whole Kage Summit arc and then the war arc just made everything baffling. Now, besides that, there are more parts. It's interesting to that he noted that that in the beginning of the series, he actually wanted to do a 4-man team storyline, kind of like something like you probably see in Fairy Tail, One Piece, and stuff like that. So, he was gonna do something like that. I don't know, would have been interesting, would have been good, would have been bad, would it actually make his series look like it's not a real thing to follow. And he was told to make a tournament with a bunch of characters, like Team 10, Team 8, Team Guy, it was said that Team Guy was supposed to be from another village rather than the village within Konoha. Well, you know what I meant. The team within Konoha. Sorry. So, it's funny to do that kind of fitting because a lot of people will argue Chunin exam is where a lot of people starts to noticing Naruto. Even in fact, this is where Kishimoto actually said that this tournament is what made Naruto popular. I mean, to me, I don't know, I'm not saying it made it popular, but it got me hooked with the first arc. But it was this tournament that made the people eye open and say, I want to read this. I want to read this, and when the anime come, I am going to watch it. So pretty much this arc is what made the series popular. This is what it made a help. And it's funny because if Kishimoto was going to go to his old idea, this wouldn't work. He wouldn't get popular. He would probably be just as popular as I don't know. Maybe not popular. Okay, maybe it would be popular, but in this magnitude that we have, it probably wouldn't. So it's interesting that he acknowledged that this tournament was never his idea. Rather, it was the idea from the editors, and it was something that he probably didn't want it to do because it was like too much hassle with all the names, with all the team. He has to do all that stuff, and it was like, it seems like it would have been a huge headache for him. With that said, he actually ended up having a good time with it, which is good for him, I guess. I just wish this was part of his story to begin with, because it only tells me, boy, this is not your story, isn't it? None of them really felt like it was all his idea. It's funny because when you look at this pilot, even he said it, like, Naruto came from a failed attempt story, which I guess it's true. When you look at the pilot just seems so different from the series that we know today. And not only is that different, but it's kind of eerie because it almost looks like that's where Bolt is at right now. The whole futuristic, maybe there'll be guns, don't be surprised because the series really take off his own cliff, But it's funny that this is where it's coming. And it's rather funny that Naruto Kishimoto actually didn't really plan to have a villain in the Chunin exam. When he was told to do a villain, he was upset, and that villain ended up being Orochimaru. So it didn't please him because he was getting into his own story, like the tournament. In fact, he was getting into the tournament, and he really planned to have Shikamaru win. But fortunately, he doesn't know how to write one because he doesn't know how to make him look like a winner. So I guess that explains why it was cut off, and he just win it because he's Shikamaru, he's smart, and that's about it. And that one task where everybody could do a lot, but whatever. I guess that's why it was eerie that he win the tournament without any really finishing up the tournament. But whatever. At least Kishimoto dodged a bullet. Now this other part of the interview that's, you know, there's a lot of parts. I'm only sharing very few of them. And the one that really got me the most is where he talks about the story itself. Now, you know, he was doing the first story, the first arc, the Land of Waves, with Zabuza, Haku, and stuff like that. Now, it was established that he did that to introduce the cornerstones in the manga straight away, and make it easier for the audience to put things into perspective, which makes sense because I actually understood I understood the concept and I understood what is going on. With that said, he really didn't pick up on what to do with the other long-term deal. In other words, a lot of things are made on the spot, and that includes Sasuke backstory. He didn't come up with it. He didn't know what to do with that. He just thought like, okay, I'm gonna have Sasuke and his older brother, which ended up being Itachi, you know, have a conflicting issues, and that would end up being Itachi killing everybody. He didn't establish that Itachi killed Uchiha clan. He didn't know what to do with it. He just know Itachi did bad thing, and then as soon as he gets introduced, I know what to do. Make Itachi be the guy who killed everybody, or the Uchiha clan, which explains why Toby got help. Explains why Toby was, you know, inserted in later on, because this story is made on the spot, you know. So because of that, you get to see why Kishimoto didn't really plan everything. He know plot points. He already established that. But to get there is where he has the most trouble, and you can clearly see why now. You can clearly see that he's actually, you know, he's admitting that he's not really good at doing this, and you know, like once he introduced the character, he was just like, okay, I'm gonna introduce this character, and I'm gonna make him a character that say, I'm not a bad guy, I'm a good guy. I'm just doing this because, which makes sense with Itachi, because he said once he introduced Itachi, he thought of the idea of making him a good guy. So that's why you see Itachi versus Kakashi, you know, didn't end Kakashi's life. Instead, just have him mercy and have Kakashi question why Itachi didn't kill him. So because he was made to be a good guy. So in other words, he could have been a complete bad guy if Kishimoto actually planned this. If he ought to thought about, you know, I'm gonna make him a complete bad guy, but instead, once he got there, I'm gonna make him a good guy. So you know, it's a bit funny to say that. And then the Sharingan, he actually explained Sharingan. Sharingan was supposed to have like a limited amount of power. It was supposed to have like power just to, you know, read the movement and stuff like that. But then later on, it becomes more and more crazy, more unique. But in hindsight, you know, it is out of control. It is broken. It is overpowered. It is nonsense. So that explains that part too. And yeah, it's just weird that this whole thing is all not planned out. It's just a lot of things are made on the spot, and you know, it's just funny. There's also like the whole bloodline limit, the whole how you call it in Japanese? I think it's Genkai, something like that. I'm really not sure. So you know, this. You know, he really didn't talk much of it. He's not really good at ninja exploring, as he said before. It was the manga was supposed to be I believe a delivery boy stuff. I think that's the case. There was something about like, you know, it was supposed to start off as a completely different from this. I mean, this one is a ninja with a kid that loves ramen, who's a underdog, a loser, because you know he has that he's not good at school, and then the people hate him because of the demon inside him, stuff like that. It was gonna be completely different from before, but you know, I guess the editors decided on him, like, you know, you should do action, and with Naruto it could be great. I mean, it could skyrocket. Your art is good, so do it. Because when you look back at the old interview, one of the older interview with the first editor, he established that Kishimoto has good art. But when it comes to story, that's where he kind of fails. And it's because Naruto's smile is what made Greenlight is what Greenlight Naruto the series. And that's why we have it today. So, I thought that's interesting to note that his origin of the series wasn't going to be the one we have today. So again, it seems like he has a lot of hope. If you ask me, it seems like this story is nothing but a huge fan fiction, which is baffling because it's like, where's the real one? There is no real one. You just get character set and then you go. So, oh well, what for the case may be, I did enjoy the series early on. Then it gets a little bit hiccup in the middle of part 2. Then it gets worse. So, trying to check out this interview. It's Kobayashi. I think it's Kobayashi interviews Kishimoto. You could type in YouTube, or you type in Google and to find the translation, because I don't think there's a video that translating the entire thing in the caption. So it's best to try to Google search it and see the translation. It's not complete translation. I mean, because some of the parts is kind of hard to read, but it is near fully, and I think it covered the most important aspect of the interview. Which, 2 more things I would like to comment. One is the whole Sakura ordeal. The reason why her character never got fully fleshed or never got anything more to her character is because, unfortunately, Kishimoto actually confirmed that she wasn't a good character for him because her popularity were bad. According to him, it was bad, and the more time he works on him, the more he feels regret that he made her in the first place, which is sad, because no author, no mangaka, no writer should feel bad to have this kind of character to do that. It's not. You made it. In a way, I know it's a fictional work, but in a way, a lot of writers actually feels connected to their own fictional characters, and when you have that connection, it actually puts you more effort, put you more investment to that story, so you could just show how much expression you have in real life. And if you have no emotional attachment and no heart to it, then what's the point? You're only just writing and just doing it. It's like this is a show where the author became a very ignorant, a very bad person. It became a bad person, and then when they asked like, why, what about your story? Your story felt great. It was great storytelling and stuff like that. And then the author was like, they're just a bunch of craps. They're just fictional stuff. I don't care about them and stuff like that. But in the end, the author do care about them. It's just that right now, at that time, the author it lost all the love, lost her smile, stuff like that. And because of that kid brought her back, she begins to write again. And if she based on the real life event that happened between him and the kid, and you can see why the author made that story in the first place, because she or he, anyone can be very, very emotionally attached to that moment, So with this, it bothers me, because it just seems like you should not let anybody talk to you. You should not let anyone tell you she's bad, he's bad, he's too good, make him better, he's that, anything. Nobody should tell you what to do. But the point is, you shouldn't just don't let anybody judge you and just I can't say F you, stuff like that. I mean, in a way you can say that, but don't try to say that in public. But the point is, stand up for yourself and just write it. Just continue writing. Why would you just do this and just say, not popular enough, time to cancel her out? I don't get it. But again, like I said, he makes a lot of parts in the stories on the spot, so it's not really a bad thing for him to do this. But in this case, yeah. You know, and he also established that he tried to make her look pretty, you know, very pretty, which I guess that explains why a lot of chapters she does look pretty. And because of that, her popularity still doesn't increase. It's just still waver, which is funny because shouldn't you continue doing her character development more than making her look pretty, cute, or anything? It's about her characters. Her character was slacking. Her character had potential, but he failed because I guess the popularity speaks for itself. That goes with Sai. Sai is the same thing. This is why Sai didn't look like a Team 7 member, because he wasn't popular. He was just there. That's why, look, I'm not saying Sai was a great character, but he had a potential to be a really good one. I mean, he could have been a good replacement. But this is why Team 7 is always going to be established with Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, because they want you to forget there's a new one. They want you to forget Yamato. They want you to forget Sai. They want you to continue to establish that Team 7, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke is the only one. It's the only real one. There is no secondary. There is no version 2.0. There is nothing. There is nothing. Kishimoto want you to forget all that, because this story is about moving forward and never looking back. It's not learning. It's just not looking back. It upsets me because you gotta, if you're building up, and especially where Sai was building up, it led to nowhere. It led to nothing. Yamato got completely ignored. I guess that's why SD makes fun of it. Sasuke, he got all forgiven easily because he's part of Team 7, and Kishimoto wants you to forget that he did a lot of bad things, killed people, even if it's self-defense. He still killed them in a non-war situation. So it's mind-blowing. It's just read it. It may make you very upset. It may even make you regret reading this series. I'm not kidding. I'm being so serious about this. So, you know, there's a lot more to it. There's interesting parts. There's also one last thing I'd like to mention is well, actually two more things. The love letter. This is where a lot of people were confused. If you remember, there's a love letter in chapter 540. Chapter 540, there was a love letter scene from this random guy to Sakura, and the reason why this chapter was even made was for the anime to fill in the blanks, as in use that advantage of a story. In other words, he was only catering to the anime, which begs the question, why? Why? This is why I remember seeing a lot of people so confused as what the hell was 540 even happen for? What is the point of it? That's the reason. Even Japanese audience were like, what? I don't get it. How? This is why. This is why. So just read it. Google search it. Is interesting, and yeah, there's a lot to cover, but I'm not gonna try to go for that. So, you know, read it, okay? Tokyo Ghoul, I think that's what it's called, or do I have to say :re? No, seriously. Before I start the chapter review, I gotta talk about the series itself, the first part. Now, I finished the first part last week around Monday, I believe, and you know, a lot of people told me I read it fast. I didn't skim through it. I took my time, but I read it fast because, you know, honestly speaking, this was a really, really good series. Great, even just actually great series. It's great. I'm not gonna like be a total fanboy about this, but just hear me out on why this is such a great series. Now, it did start slow because it's trying to introduce the entire concept of ghoul in like a first 20 chapter or so. And, you know, obviously you get more explanation and more exploration of the universe itself. Like the whole CCG investigators, the ghoul group, Orgidi, and so on. So, you know, you got to be time and patient with it. Especially when the first chapter doesn't give you the usual first chapter from every other shonen or a lot of series that do. Like, for example, like you got, you know, like... example, like, let's see, let me give you an example like Naruto. Naruto is a good example. You got the whole, you know, you understand this boy wants to be Hokage. He's alone. He has a demon inside. He can't do Jetsu. It's the whole, then you understand it's a whole ninja concept. Then you have him doing Jetsus. You have him doing a contribution mass version. And, you know, there you go. He kicks ass and the story goes. Same thing with Bleach. You got Ichigo, Kusi goes, and then all of a sudden Rukia shows up as a Shinigami. Rukia gets hurt. Then Ichigo pledged to, you know, to become one. And then he becomes a Shinigami, kicks ass. There you go. You got the concept. So in Tokyo Ghoul, it's a different concept. It has, you get this main character. You get you get the feel understanding of the ghoul. He gets attacked by a ghoul. He doesn't kick ass. He just gets attacked. And almost died, and then there you go. That's your first chapter. He doesn't kick ass like a lot of main characters always demonstrate. No, he got his ass whooped. He almost died. So, in a way, the story isn't going for like. This is doing just in a way you could really say the story is really pre-planned with everything about it, and that's what makes it great because the entire concept, you know. The whole story doesn't feel like a lot of things keep adding on. Of course, you're gonna add on the characters, there's a perspective view of the CCG and the other people. You know, of course, you're gonna add on something like that. But they never felt like they were out of place. They felt like they were always there. It's just they never really explored well enough until it gets to that point. Like, you got the whole CCG exploration after chapter 79. You get more understanding of how they work. Like, the whole ranking system, the class, who's the toppest tier, which ends up being Arima. You know, stuff like that. And you get the more understanding of the characters within that group. And it doesn't completely focus too much of them because we still get the main character, Kaneki. Which, you know, it balanced well. I know a lot of people were impatient because Kaneki came off with a incredible display of actions from the last arc, which was credible, especially his way of actions with the whole 103 bones. If I believe you all know what happened there. That being said, this whole thing is explored well. This feels like a Mass Effect, where. I haven't seen the anime, so I'm just letting you know right now. I have not seen the anime, but admit to say, for the manga wise, it's just great. It feels like Mass Effect, as in you get to explore a lot of things. If you take your time, you get to understand the world. You get to understand the characters. You get to understand what the main characters, Kaneki, Toka, are going through. It's explored so well. The emotion display is astonishing too. It really gives you the right amount of vibe of what these characters are suffering from. So, you know, it feels so well developed. Especially like characters like Amon. You get the guy who hates the ghouls because of his tragic past, which it makes sense, and it does make sense. It's not a normal past too. It's not like because they killed my parents and stuff like that. It's much more than that, and it's understandable. And his character development is understandable too. He's not like, I'm gonna hate ghoul forever, rah rah rah. You know, it's nothing like that. Instead, he explored with this character who didn't want to kill humans because he's just, you know, Kaneki is just a guy who doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to fight. Yeah, he becomes a full-fledged fighter, but and a killer later on. But you know, the point is, he don't want to do this. But it's just his anger and his inner emotion that have been building up for so long is what made him. Kaneki go outrage. But the point is, you know, Almana and Kaneki could connect because they both seem like well, they're not on the exact same page, but they seem like they could connect so well with each other with the whole first rivalry they have back in like in early arcs, and then then you got the whole very end at the very end, well not the very end, but like near end, you got the whole Kaneki and Amon, square off one last time, and Amon established that he doesn't want to die because he doesn't want Kaneki to have a first kill with a human. That would be him. I mean, I'm not sure it'd be the first human kill, but he don't want to make Kaneki feel bad because Kaneki don't want to fight. He doesn't want to kill at that point anymore. And it's so well developed for somebody who's just a side character, And Kaneki, he's really well developed. It's like I mentioned before in the first beginning arc, he only was going through the concept of understanding what the ghouls are about, what they how they live, where they had to go to get their food, and who they had to avoid from trouble. So it explored well. At first, I thought he would be just a good character, but then he becomes such a great character later on. Especially his character concept being like a guy who doesn't want to be alone. But the way how they tackle this is more of a selfish reason, more so than a selfless reason. Something you don't, in shonen series, you always get I want to protect them. But sometimes they just never go more the dimension of that. It's like, I want to go protect them. But in this case, it would like, I want to go protect them because if I become alone, I'm going to be very upset. But that's selfish. That's what makes it different. And the way how it's handling, it makes sense. And, everything is explored well. And the story elements gets interesting more and more. And again, it never feel out of place. It never felt that out of place. So I could understand why this moment happened and this scene even occurred. Toka, she's such a great character. She's a great character because not only she really could fight, not only she gets a lot of good spotlights for herself as a fighter and as a character, but her character is also developed really well, and it makes sense why the ending happened to her like this way. It makes sense why she ended up that way. And I think what sealed the deal for me, even though I really liked her before this, but what sealed the deal for me was chapter 120, where she confronted Kaneki after like 6 months or so. And when she confronted him, like, she was in a turmoil of how to react. Would it be, hey, just say, hey, what's up? Like in a normal, casual way, as in nothing happened. That should not be the first thing to say. Should she kick his ass for leaving her, or kick his ass for returning even? Because that's her character. But that's not sure you want to go that way either. So in the end, it ends up being her telling Kaneki, he's full of crap. He thinks he knows best, but in the end he doesn't, because he's doing this for selfish reason. And the whole display of her and him interacting each other is so well done. And again, nobody feel out of place. Everybody felt in character, and it just felt. And if you didn't like how she handled it, I'm not sure why, but that's her character. You have to understand where she's coming from. And it makes sense why she reacted this way for her personality, for her character, and for her history. It makes sense. So, I can see why she ended up being number 1 for the popularity poll, which I guess it's understandable. But yeah, it's a lot of great characters in this series. The suspense is really good. The build up to the impact moments, especially the final arc of the part 1, is really, really good. With the whole concept of the final will from the investigators, and then you got the whole build up with the ghouls with like Yoshimura, and his companions like Kuma and Ibiki. I forgot Ibiri. I try to remember the names, but you got the whole build up, and a lot of build ups does leads to the second series, the part 2 of the Tokyo Ghoul saga. So it felt like you're about to read the ending of the series and there will be no more parts. But of course, if you look at the ending, while the ending is actually pretty good, it's also pretty bad if there was no sequel. It was pretty good for the overall because, you know, it connects with Kaneki being the tragic hero. He's a tragic hero. He is the anti-hero, supposed to say. And it begins from the first chapter with this. If you're going to make a story out of Kaneki, it will be tragedy. That's what happened to him. He's a tragic hero. And he ended up being more and more to that, to the very end. And it's sad because you can see like, you know, he's trying to do his best as he can to keep the life going well or going okay as a ghoul even. And then, you know, like he always played the innocent part, especially like when he was playing innocent in front of Jason. And sadly, he got lied to, so he ended up killing the family. And not only that, he tortured Kaneki for weeks. It's terrible. And then he finally gave up, and he finally admitted that he hated the fact that people around him keep dying for no sense, for whatever reason, and he wants to be the one to not to be alone, because if he's gonna be alone, then everybody should also be, or stuff like that. The point is, he grown tired and he just went nuts. Not nuts like too out of control. Well, he gets out of control when he went to the centipede mode, but the point is, he just lost his mind. He becomes like a lone wolf. Even if he has team, he feels like a lone wolf guy. So it's and then like by the time of the final arc, he try to get his sense back, and he does. He want to go back to the shop. Unfortunately, the war begins, and there was a full-fledged raid from the CCG on the shop, and Kaneki doesn't know what to do. Well, he wanted to save them, but it seems too much, and he was told not to go for it. And everybody else is saying goodbye. Toka and the Kaneki didn't meet each other, but that's obvious why they didn't meet each other again after that. So, you know, the whole build-up with Kaneki doing one last thing before the whole thing is over, you know, is so well built, and especially with the struggles during the whole raid is insane. It immerses your emotion. It gets you really hooked to the entire battle, the entire fight, the entire event. It gets you hooked to see who's gonna die, who's gonna live, how this is gonna happen. You know, especially where Kaneki meets Arima. It's just like, holy crap, what is going on? And it just gets worse and worse. And you know, the way how the story ended, or the way how Kaneki ended, is just awful. Like, not awful as in like, oh, it's horrible, really horrible written. It's more like awful to see, just to see him. And it's so sad to see his final memories, which it's so good. It's a really good series. Now again, the beginning is slow, and there are some parts that's slow because they want you to understand the character before you get into the main course. But they don't really take your mind away. They don't really make you want to give up, or they didn't make you sustain. Would it be boring? It's up to you. I didn't find them boring. I was just anticipating for what's the next outcome for Kaneki and the others. But again, when they explore, they really explore, and they really like give you the sense of their characteristics. A lot of characters get more than one dimension. They get more dimensions, and if some character doesn't get that much dimension, it's because they're being saved for the next series, which is Re. And in me reading Read, I can see why I'm starting seeing all that development from the first one, putting into action now. So, you know, like I said, you gotta take your time. It's really good. The suspense is really, really good. The whole theories, a lot of people has come out theories, and a lot of them has come out right so far. But it's not because it's too obvious, but it's because it's really well. It's done well. It's not that obvious, and it's not that what a twist, you know, the whole M. Night Shyamalan in your face, because they all feel like they build up right, especially with the whole period, though, a group of ghouls that actually been hinted for so many times. It's just, you gotta go back and see it again. I sort of miss it. I mean, I know the clowns were mentioned multiple times, but I only remember the last two. I don't remember the beginnings. I don't remember the middle. I don't remember like some of the masks were there. It's creative. It's good. It's really good. I can see why people likes it. It's not that popular, but it's getting there. I hope it gets more popular. But maybe again, it doesn't really need to be that popular. All it needs to do is to write a great story, a really great characters, and all the other good stuff that makes the audience continue to read further and kind of beg for more. You know, as in like more of the Tokyo Ghoul universe. I don't want to go overboard. I just want to, you know, whenever it ends, it ends. Okay, so yeah, overall, I definitely recommend to check it out. It is good. It's pretty gory. It's gore in the right factor. Not too much of an overtone, overbearing one, like unnecessary one. They are ghouls. They need to eat human. There are a good amount of gore, but there are a lot of one that really gives you the aching feeling, especially where like one character, like how Kaneki took an eye stab. It's gruesome. It's like the yelling and everything. It just makes you feel hard to read this. Makes it hard to look at it. You know, it's really well drawn in too. So you know, overall, give it a try. Definitely recommend it, and hopefully you if this is the first time you're hearing this and you're not and then you're not a person that's actually continuing reading Tokyo Ghoul, you know, go for it. Why not? It's pretty good. It's really good. Now that brings us to Tokyo Ghoul Re, and this is chapter 20. And I gotta say, this chapter is pretty good too. This is pretty good. This beginning of the whole entire raid of the auctions has been you know, put out, and the entire thing just went into a chaos. It's pretty much a war within inside the building, and yeah, this is some good stuff right here. This is what I think a lot of people are waiting to see, because the thing is about the first arc of this series is more of a introduction, which I don't mind, because you know, at least I understand what I'm getting, and I understand the whole Sasaki being Kaneki. And you know, it was a huge relief that it was him. I was so happy it was him, because I do care about this character a lot. So you know, will we get a good ending with him? Who knows? Too early to tell. But right now, let's focus on this chapter. And like I said, this is a pretty eventful chapter, action pack, and you know, there's some gore part in there. You got pretty much you get the idea that Sasaki is pretty much resemble his ability, his movement. It resemble Arima, which is a good sign. It's a great sign actually, because think about it. When once he gets his memory back, I'm not sure what he's gonna do from there. But if he ever fights Arima, he won't be having that much of a struggle. Now Arima is an overpowered guy, make no mistake, but if he fights him again, it'd probably be a different story, because he is getting trained well as a fighter, as a normal investigator, human, you know. So magic with him in the ghoul. Now the problem is his ghoul seems to be overpowered to the point he cannot control himself. I'm not sure it's for the memory's sake or it's just the power, because you know, when you look back at the first series, he was getting eaten alive, so to speak, and then Hide or Heidi, I'm not sure how you say his name, because I haven't seen the anime, so I'm gonna say Heidi for now, until say otherwise. Now remember, he calmed him down for a moment. Now we don't know how exactly he was all calm perfectly when he fought Arima, but I guess that's something that we have to wait for the future. That being said, it seems like his Kagune, sorry, is now out of control, so it's best to not to use at the meantime. But yeah, this seems like a good promising future for Sasaki Kaneki. It's only a matter of time when he remembers his past and his whole character. So we got a lot of fighting going on, got a lot of again, a lot of action. You get like the ghouls showcasing their power. You know how like one guy has his this Kaku is like, you know, it's huge, so he could pretty much shield himself well and cut them up nicely. Well, not cut them, but pretty much push them the crap out of the investigator, which is troublesome because if you have a strong shield, it's gonna be hard to fight at it. And then he was told that Sasaki was told to go elsewhere because they're instructed to fight him while he's doing something else. He has to go somewhere else. This chapter has a lot of ghouls showcasing their powers, like Misa. He has like a 3 blades. He could cut people. I find it funny with the interaction with Misa and Naki. Naki is like, the whole point of a mask is to disguise yourself identity, and he come out of nowhere just screaming the name like, no, it's Misa, and she got so pissed. He's like, oh, don't say my name, you idiot. It's like the whole point of the mask was just to hide, and instead, what a ways to spoil the name. So, oops, but whatever. Yeah. So Naki ends up going against Akira, and it should be interesting if they do show in the next chapter, a fact that I just remember that Akira is in this whole battlefield. I could imagine Hinami seeing the power of her parents. I wonder if there would be the case that she would see that, especially the fact that she saw her father die. So maybe, I'm not sure it's gonna happen in this arc, but it's an interesting thought. It never occurred to me until like later on. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So again, it shows a lot of different ghouls showcasing a lot of setup, a lot of build up, setup, all that good stuff from with Sasaki moving on. Naki is about to duel against Akira, and then we got Masuki. She's still being chased by the what's his name, the torso guy. Wow, Saki. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, but then the more problems ensue because you got Kanai, who pretty much worshipped the Shu, Suki, you know that guy, and he pretty much, I guess he was trying to get head start with Masuki first, but then Saki came in and pretty much get what his wish is, and that would be Masuki, because this guy's hunger for torso, this guy's crazy. So yeah, now. So basically what we're having is like a 3-way battle. You got Masuki, who has to run away because she's being under attack. She's alone. She has no partner. And you have Saki, who's crazy for that torso, and then you have Kainai, who's doing it for the benefit for his his leader. So what a mess. Like I said, a lot of build up, a lot of good action. I find this chapter to be good. Now the main point that this chapter makes it really good is the ending. Now, as you know, the doctor is still alive, and yeah, I still hate him. Hate the guy. I don't understand completely what he wants, because I mean, you get the gist of it from the last series. You get the idea that he wants to get out this cage, the bird cage, so to speak. But what is he trying to do completely? Like, what is this mean? Why is he doing this? So, of course we're gonna get more explanation. But that being said, it goes to show you a lot of part 1 is a build up to the part 2, which is this. And now, if you recall the ending of part 1, you have Takizawa. Takizawa went missing. Supposedly they say that he's dead. Unfortunately, that is not true, which is funny to say, unfortunately, because he ends up being a one-eyed ghoul. And it's funny when I say unfortunately, because to me, I see this fate worse than death. This is the case, and judging by the last page, he looks really messed up. And it's possible that he gave in much early, because he is a guy who really don't want to do all this. He may be an investigator, but when it comes to fighting, he's not a guy that really wants to do this, because it's just dangerous. It's crazy, especially when you see one-eyed ghoul. Imagine seeing that yourself. You lose yourself. You just give up. So you know, it's sad to see Takizawa being a one-night ghoul, and seems like he's hunger for human flesh and stuff like that. And it seems like his name is now the Owl, which makes sense, I guess, because the one-eye owl Ito, I guess he's building up her army with starting with Takizawa. Now Amon is still missing. We haven't seen him yet, but it's pretty safe to say well, I can't say pretty safe to say, but you never know. But it's safe. But it is safe to say that he's not dead. I believe he's not dead. Is he a one-eye ghoul? That probably be the case. That might be the highest chance of happening, and it's gonna suck to see where he goes through from there. But yeah, next chapter should be a very explosive chapter because the whole build-up, Sasaki moving on, you got Naki versus Akira, Masuki being chased by the two crazy ghouls, and then you got Takizawa about to go invade the war. It's gonna be an all-out war. You got Agiri, you got the CCGs, you got the whole you even got Parrot. Parrot is still there. They haven't, the last thing we saw was Uta behind the mask getting stabbed by Suzawa, and needless to say, there's gonna be a lot more to it. So this is a good. This is already a really good turn of event. So definitely looking forward to the next chapter. Overall, pretty good chapter, and I just can't wait. So we get to Bleach now. Now this chapter was decent. It was decent because not much really happened, and there's a lot of space taken away. Now the good part was pretty much by the end, or rather than by the end of the middle. And this whole chapter is pretty much talks about Ichigo and Yauch. They're talking to each other, or more of Yauch talking to him. He's trying to make his mind go crazy because since they're both Quincy, he pretty much say they both are connected, they share the same blood, and he knows everything that he's done. She knows why he's all this strong, how he has the power to use to defeat Aizen and all the other stuff. It's pretty much mind controlling aspect of his doing. The whole because we're both connected, your thoughts, your action, all of it was for his benefit, stuff like that. It's a little bit, it's alright. I mean, Ichigo is obviously not gonna be like, oh, you're right, or being like really spazzing out of the idea of Yauch, if him and Yauch are connected like that. I mean, he is like the king of Quincy, so I guess it makes sense. But still, obviously this is not gonna go that further deep like that for Ichigo wise. So it's just pretty much a lot of talking, a lot of manipulation, thoughts, stuff like that. It takes a lot of space. Now the one that's interesting aspect is Ishida. He finally makes it a debut after such a long time. So, and when I mean debut, I mean in front of his friends, Ichigo, Chad, Orihime, and so on. So now the thing could get very interesting in terms of like with the whole Ishida being the bad guy or in the bad team, and that part should be interesting to see how they interact or whatever. I can't say it's gonna be completely amazing or something like that. You never know. Maybe I could be wrong. I would like to be wrong if it would be more than just, well, you're my friend, why are you doing this, blah blah blah. The typical stuff. But you never know. Now this one also has Yorchi fighting against Yauch, and because Yauch is trying to destroy the Soul King once and for all. So yeah, Yauch has to fight it off as Ichigo confronted by Ishida, and pretty much you just get a lot of small, somewhat confusing action between Yauch and Yorichi. I mean, it's not too confusing, but it's strange how it works, especially where the part where her arm gets twisted in such a weird way. So then she get pushed off, and that was not the end of her, but I guess she's taken out for the equation, and then every time Ichigo wants to fight Yaoch, an arrow getting shot by Ishida. So in other words, he has to fight Ishida in order to fight Yaoch. So pretty much they have to confront each other, and now it should be interesting to see how these two friends from the very beginning of the series, square it off. Let's hope it's not too much of a similar of Naruto and Sasuke. I mean, I don't need that again. It's too much of that similarity. But overall, it's a decent chapter. Not much to say. Again, there's a lot of manipulations aspect going against Ichigo, which didn't amount too much of it. Yoichi and Yaosh had a small battle. It's still confusing how his power works, but I guess that's the entire point of it, so I don't mind that. The interesting part is the Ishida and Ichigo confronting each other, and now the next chapter is obviously continuing more, which should be interesting to see nonetheless. So I look forward to it. Fairy Tail now, and this was a good chapter, I guess. Actually, it is a good chapter. It's gonna be a little bit it's gonna be something that people could be upset about. I mean, it depends how you see the series, because the series like this is it's something you always see in a lot of different series, and it's kind of giving that it was gonna happen this way. What I mean is the conversation between Natsu and Blue Note. Now, I noted that things like this, it usually occurs in a shonen where the protagonist or any other character fights the old villain that used to be very strong, or used to be on equal footing, or rather they were so powerful that the protagonist is not strong enough. That's more of that case. So when you defeat somebody that's already very powerful, when you meet somebody very powerful from the beginning, and then you meet them again later on, only to have the other character, the good guys, overpower him easily, then they pretty much told you, wow, he really got very strong. So in this case, it's Blue Note's turn. Natsu and Blue Note, they pretty much squared off. And depends if you really care about this, but Natsu did one shot on Blue Note. He did a strong fire breath, one hit only, and that was it for the Blue Note. He was knocked out easily. Now this could be a little bit upsetting for the people that get the idea that Natsu is way too overpowered now. I don't know about way overpowered, but you get the idea he's pretty powerful. So this is a usual formula, and I guess the only good thing I can see is that they got it done pretty quickly rather than taking too much time. Like, oh yeah, we get it, Natsu is very powerful. But in this case, they did it one shot. So it's a like or hate moment for the fans. I'm not sure. To me, I don't really mind that much. It was bound to happen this kind of way. So the whole battleground ended. It was kind of funny because after seeing that moment, why wouldn't you not surrender? Because that was just too much. So this chapter was mainly more of Wendy and Chilia. It was more of those two, especially the chapter title, because again, this chapter ended the fight pretty quickly, and it was just not main focus. The main focus is Wendy finally going on to Fairy Tail once again, no longer being part of it with the other guild. No, I don't remember the name now. So, but the point is, it's not gonna be with them, and they have a last talking moment. It's kind of funny. I don't know why. I feel like this was somewhat a jab at the theme of love. Now, you got that scene where she tell Wendy that she loves Natsu, don't she? And she was like, no, that's not like that. It's more like I idolize like a brother. So, whoever shipped Natsu's and Wendy, I guess there's your answer. And it could be, that's just your fandom stuff. But all jokes aside, you get the idea that love is not really the story. Love in this series is actually more than just love, as in I love you, you love me romantically, let's get together. It has more of a different sense. So at least they established that. It's nice of them for saying that stuff. So again, this is about these two. They're ending, well, not ending their relationship, but they're saying their goodbyes, a good farewell goodbye, that even though they'll be in different guilds, in the end they will still be really good friends. And it has a one nice shot of these two. It has some good drawings in here, good shadowings and everything like that. So Wendy's is back with the Fairy Tail Guild, well, more like Natsu, Happy, and Lucy. But time will tell that when will they all be back. Carla joined them as well, and so yeah, it's pretty much just moving forward. It's funny because this chapter, or in that sense, this arc is pretty much a recruitment arc. It's something you see in One Piece in the very beginning. You got the whole entire East Blue recruitment with Sanji, Zoro, Usopp, and Nami, and then we get the real story begin. You get the real story. So in this case, this is for Fairy Tail. We're gonna get back the entire Fairy Tail Guild. Well, I'm not sure about entire, but we're gonna get the one that more. The most, like Gray, Juvia, Gagio, and so on. Stuff like the characters that always return to the series. Oh, Urza as well. It's just a matter of time. So, in that sense, it's gonna be a slow build up. It's gonna be a slow arc for a lot of people who wants to see what's the next event. Like with the whole Natsu being the end and stuff like that. But it seems like we're just getting the team back together. It's gonna take its time. The series probably won't be too interesting. It won't be that exciting. It will be good, but it won't be mind blowing. It won't be climatic. It will just be a lot of recruiting. I could be wrong. I'm only guessing because of this moment with Wendy. It's short. It was nice, but again, a lot of people will probably wanted to see a real villain, a real development. You get development for like certain characters, but you want to kind of have an all-around development, like the last arc. But the last arc was really for the series itself, it was really good. For its own kind, it's really good. I did enjoy it. It got me back more into the Fairy Tail series. I was not gonna drop it, but I wasn't too thrilled with the series itself. But so it's kind of a little bit of shame that this is where we're going now, and it's gonna be kind of slow again. So, but in due time, it will get better. Maybe the next one will be different. Maybe it will be more eventful. But I could be wrong again. So it's anyone's guess. The next one will be Juvia, and it seems like she's alone, and she seems pretty upset. So we're going back to square one in terms of how her character where her character came from. So, overall, it's a good chapter. It's decent. More about the friendship of Wendy's and Chilia. Natsu one shot could be a love or hate situation from the fans. I don't mind too much. It's a little bit bothersome, but again, this is the usual formula you see in a lot of shonen. So you just have to bear with it, unfortunately, if you're against this idea. But overall, good chapter. I want to see where Juvia where she came from all this 1 year event of no Fairy Tail. I thought it would be with Gray. I don't know why I thought of it, but maybe she was with Gray, but then something happened. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. I am going to continue to follow it through and through, even if it's just recruiting back to the Fairy Tail Guild slowly but surely. But you just have to bear with it. I haven't read My Hero Academy at this time, so the only one I have been reading is the Seven Deadly Sins, and I haven't read much. I was actually more busy with something else in this prior week. So, for the time being, I managed to reach at least to chapter 23. you know, the series is actually pretty good so far. I mean, I haven't seen the moment where a lot of people where a lot of people becomes a big fan of this series. I mean, this series is actually pretty popular in Japan at this time, and I know it's because of the anime has has arrived, and it does boost up the ratings for the sales on the manga volumes, but the TV rating is also pretty good too. It has been surfaced in the top 10 week by week, not all the time, but it has surfaced, and it's saying something to me at least. It has some I wouldn't say it's unique, but it seems like a pretty fun, enjoyable manga so far. The story is this: we have a very kid lookalike named Miladus. He owns a bar, and supposedly, he has a pig. His name is, well, okay. The weird part was the translation. Well, it admitted later on that in the translation, it was said that his name was Hork, but ends up being Hawk. So it's kind of funny how that's came about, because I remember reading about some comments with the popularity poll that a lot of people wanted Hawk to be number one. I don't know why, unless I'm mistaken with somebody else, but who knows? Maybe I am mistaken with somebody else. I could be, but it's been a while reading that popularity poll, so who knows? I have seen the character that is number one in the popularity poll. His name is King, and needless to say, it's someone I unexpected to be, and I kind of like that. I do like the character so far, but I haven't read much because it's actually, I'm still ongoing with the series, the arc with that character, and yeah, so I don't have that much of an opinion of that sort. That now, going back to the story, we have a girl named Elizabeth who was seeking for the seven deadly sins, and wanted them to take out the holy knights. And it's funny because the holy knights were said to be the good guys, and the seven deadly sins is known to be the bad guy. I mean, it says the name themselves. However, in this case, it's the holy knights that's actually the true bad guys, as the seven deadly knights. Seven deadly sins could be the good guys, or could be heavily mistaken. And so far, that it seems to be the case, as Miladus is revealed to be one of them. In fact, he is the captain of the seven deadly sins. So this brings the questions: is the seven deadly sins are truly the bad guys? And so far, as the recruitment goes, they're not really the bad guys, and the Holy Knights has appeared to be the good guys in disguise, while they're truly the bad guys. And there are like a lot of Holy Knights all around the world, that the seven deadly sins cannot really take them all of them out, but they could, work together and try to take them out, parts by parts, rather than every single one of them, because that would be, there are a lot of them. And from there on, the story goes from there, with Miladus joining Elizabeth to find all the seven deadly sins, to take down the Holy Knights and rescue the king, as the king has been taken down by the Holy Knights themselves from the Cup Duet. And yeah, that's the story. In the surface, it sounds like a lot of like kind of it's your typical adventure series in terms of like recruiting every character known to man. So far, as I progress, I only got to see 4 sins characters, and they're interesting so far. Not much to say at this time, because the story is recruiting. It's not slow paced. There's some enjoyment in there. It's just I guess if you're trying to figure out how this story's gonna go, like it's gonna go more bigger depth than just try to find them and then take down the knights and that'll be it. There is a potential. Like Miladus seems like he doesn't have the memory, doesn't remember what happened from the main event that changed his life or to change everything around. Because in his flashback, according to his flashback, we witness a murder scene of one great night, and nobody knows what exactly happens to that night. But the seven deadly sins I guess this is the Seven Deadly Sins got their title from this kind of event, or rather, wherever the events of their sins. And it makes sense with their name title. Like, for example, Bond is the sin of greed, and his characteristic actually shows that by taking the properties of a character, and pretty much to Meliodas has to maintain his control, because he is kind of crazy, and apparently he cannot die. He is immortal, and he explained it in the moments I'm in. So there's some good aspect. It's something different in some form of way. The way how it's handled is actually kind of different, and it's actually pretty enjoyable. There's things to be aware of. It has some, the main character, the protagonist, is pretty open-minded with the idea of being open-minded as a perverted guy. I mean, he would grope a woman's breasts. He will grope her behind and stuff like that. And maybe it will upset some people that the fact that the Elizabeth doesn't fight back. He just allow it, like, don't do that. That would be it. So I mean, just letting you know right now. It's not, well, it's too early to call, but it's not as very perverted as Fairy Tail to say. It's not that much at this time, at least. It may be down the road, because right now I'm only in chapter 23, so I'm not that so I'm not that far. But I am seeing some potential of why the series is getting popular in Japan, and maybe around here in the West as well. It has some good characters in there as well. Elizabeth, she hasn't grown on me yet, but the thing is, she is like a normal character, like literally normal character, because these knights are like, they really established that these knights could go over the top, as in like a big explosion. I'm not sure about beam, but who knows. But I mean, like big explosion, like a sword could cut like a good half a mountain and stuff like that, or like one weapon could turn into a giant dragon and stuff like that. You're gonna expect a lot of craziness. So at least they let you know that craziness are bound to happen in this series. So it's like a over the top adventure series. Kind of how you see One Piece. I mean, One Piece, they don't go too far, but like explosion wise, it's wacky, but it's fun. It's a fun kind of type of series. That's what this Seven Deadly Sin is, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying what they have. The art seems good. It has that. It's funny because it has that. The character design has that childish, like, not too childish, but it's kind of like a little, it's like it's aiming for a younger teen. But then when you see like the stuff like from Bond and other characters that go through like some battle, it's pretty gruesome. Like, it's not the goriest thing, but it's kind of some gruesome scenery. Like, one character gets stabbed every spot, and then there's other character that just gets stabbed, and he took the knife and he just stabbed him so hard to the chest he dies. It has a graphic scene, but again, it's nothing too mind blowing. You've probably seen worse already. It's not like a seinen. Don't think it'll be gory. Just be aware it'll be some perverse stuff material, and like I said, this series has some good potential to be pretty fun adventure. And it has Hawk, that talking pig. Yeah, it's pig is weird, but it is funny how some of the characters don't even aware about that stuff, and when you do have that, it's like, oh yeah, that is supposed to be a holy crap news, rather than like, okay, cool. So I'm enjoying it. I'll probably catch up to the latest chapter, and then I'll start reviewing from there. I recommend to check it out. It has that. It's not like Fairy Tail, but it has the same target audience style, as in like it being adventurous. It would be like the protagonist, then you got the heroine, and then you got like some other characters, and they would be taking the adventure time. And it's more of a, I guess you could say it's more of One Piece a little bit, but they really have a prime target, and that target is the holy knights in the castle, the one whoever's in charge of the whole thing. So you know, I'm not sure the series could go very long, but you know, it could go long. It could go long, and you know, so far I like what I see. So hopefully, when it picks up, and when maybe there will be the time where I see why they got bigger and popular, then I'll probably just go with it. I'll probably be like so hooked to it, you know, all the good stuff. So yeah, it's a good series. And that'll be the end of this episode. I guess I talk a lot enough in the first part of the podcast, which is about the interview. There's actually a lot to say, but you know, you should check it out yourself. You know, form your own opinion, and you know, just think about it. I mean, I don't know. Sure, will I ever talk about this like into the entire detail? I don't know. Like its own episode, I really don't know. But the point is, you know, you should check it out, and you should see. Maybe you get the idea why the series ended up the way it is. Why the series keep changing routes. Why a lot of things doesn't seem like it connects more than you thought. You know, maybe it almost suggested that he really don't get the idea that we all have. You know, something like I wouldn't say we think too deep, but something a little bit just a normal in-depth perspective, and then he probably be like, "What are you talking about?" Stuff like that. So that is possible that he probably think it that way. That's weird, overthinking it. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, check out the interview and see it for yourself. I'll leave it a link in this page. So that would be it for today's episode. Next week, well, you know, I'll be catching up with a lot of series. I'll probably end up catching up with My Hero Academia. I'm still trying to find the anime to watch and review them. Like I know I'm gonna watch Parasite, but it'd probably be too late before I could say, oh look, you know, this episode was good, this episode was great, and stuff like that. It'd be end before I know it. I mean, maybe I would still watch it and just give you my full thoughts on it, and I'll probably review it eventually in somewhere else, like maybe a Tumblr. I'm still debating where to post my reviews. I'm gonna post the reviews like in the overall way. And you know, for chapters and episode wise, you get it from here only. And I mean, you will see my initial thoughts on the chapter episode in the Tumblr page, but if you want my full review, it will be in here. So yeah, you know, please subscribe, leave a comment if anything. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to spread the word to everyone else, you know, I would love you to do so. And keep supporting. And thank you for your time. All right, I'll be off, and hopefully next week there'll be a lot of excitement for a lot of mangas, animes, and so on. Until then, see you next time. Take care, everyone.